Welcome, everybody, to our Chocolatey Software Coffee Break live stream for July. We run two live streams here at Chocolatey every month on the first and third Thursday. This live stream here today is the Chocolatey Community Coffee Break, where we discuss the Chocolatey community, how you can get involved, look at community projects, and talk to key community and Chocolatey team members. On the first Thursday, we have the Chocolatey product live stream. I'll get to speak properly shortly. Where we spotlight Chocolatey products, recent releases, and important features. You can get notifications of all the new content that we put out and announcements as well by following or subscribing to us on Discord, Twitter, Mastodon, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. Yes, we're on everything. We're on all the social things, so you can find all of the links to all of those things I've just described on the bottom of our homepage, chocolatey.org. Our live stream today is a little bit special. We're going to look at a new community chocolate extension called package-debug.extension, and that's going to be released very shortly. It's a community-based extension, and it was born out of a lightning talk at PowerShell Conference Europe in June. We're also going to chat a little bit about the conference and announce the Lego winner that we took the names of at the event. So my name is Paul Broadith. I'm a technical engineering manager here at Chocolatey Software. And what we're going to do, first of all, is we're going to kind of look at the PowerShell Conference Europe, and that took place in Prague on the 19th of June this year in the Czech Republic. Chocolatey was a premium sponsor there, and we gave away t-shirts, stickers, pro licenses, and as I mentioned, some Lego as well. So I'm going to turn over to James, who's going to do an awesome, interesting introduction for everybody, and I'm going to be quiet now. James, do you want to pick that up and introduce yourself as well, obviously?
Sure. Hi. So I'm James Ruskin. I am a senior software. Nope. I am a senior solutions engineer at Chocolatey Software. Also not Gary Park. This just I've got all the things that I'm not. Obviously, as Paul was
Channeling
just
Gary.
saying, we were at PSConf EU this year. Had a great time. The folk who organised it did a fantastic job. Would love to just say how much I enjoyed it, and everything was just amazing. Even though, obviously, some of the photos that were taken and published do make me look a touch grumpy. I promise it's just because of Android apps, which is a leading cause of grumpiness across the world. But we also got to hang out in Prague, which is a beautiful area, and be inspired by many wonderful talks. So because the content of the stream was actually inspired on by several of these talks, we've got a couple of speakers here today. So to start off, we have, if I can make this work.
Magic behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
Will I do it? Will I sing a song? Wait, do a
Brief
little dance.
magic
There
where
we go.
we make Manfred appear slightly incorrectly. But there we go. So we've got Manfred. Manfred Woolner, who has been a guest on this stream several times before, has probably been asked how he pronounces various words, and did several talks, including May the Debugger Be With You, and Power Charge Your Box setups with Box Starter. Hi, Manfred. I don't know if you want to do
Hi.
an introduction for yourself as well, or if...
You did a great job there. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be back. And yeah, PowerShell conference has been great fun.
Absolutely. And yeah, that debugger session taught me several things that I didn't know about VS Code and what you can do with debugging in it, which is awesome. I'd been missing out. And then additionally, we've actually got Emrys McAnally, who is here.
I'm here. Hi.
Hi. So you're a first-time attendee of this stream. You were a first-time speaker at PSConf EU, I believe.
Yeah.
And it went really well, as far as I can tell. Would you like to say anything for an introduction?
Yeah, I'm Emrys. I'm a roadmap manager. I was a first-time speaker at PSConf, as you already mentioned, and I held two talks, one about developing in Windows Docker containers, and the other one about Chocolatey, of course.
Absolutely. So me and Manfred actually went along to that talk, and it entirely inspired everything about this stream. Basically, it got us immediately thinking and playing with PowerShell and Chocolatey packages and debugging those. Manfred tried a proof of concept that very evening, which is no slight on the evening life in Prague, but was fun anyway. And then it didn't go quite as well as we liked when we tried to present it to people the day after, but it wasn't recorded, so we thought we'd do this. with a little more detail.
But I think what you're doing there, really, James, is you're making it sound a bit more organized than it actually were. When you guys were at PowerShell Conference Europe, you were like a couple of children who suddenly came across this idea and were very giggly, and off you went to do this LinkedIn talk. So I'm just wrapping that in some reality and probably ruin that organization and that kind of image you've just presented. But I think it should be a realistic image, and I'm being fair there. We're like a couple of children.
You were there, Paul, and told us, "I told you so."
Yeah,
it's true.
But I think, and it was all because of Emirates, to be fair, that the two children suddenly
definitely
had so much
got
fun.
that cool idea, and they had so much fun. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and the LinkedIn talk was fun, and yeah, it was great. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've even got I've forgotten about this, but now I'm trying to remember again. I had a quick picture of us ready to do the lightning talk, looking giggly and happy. So that's good. And yeah, obviously we only looked slightly less giggly after it had gone wrong. But yeah, so that all said, shall we talk about some Chocolatey packages and how to debug them and whatnot? Because obviously, what we can start with is, and Paul, I'm about to cut you off the screen, and I do apologize. If you'd like to be on the screen,
That's
I can
okay.
do that too.
No, that's cool. You do what you need to do.
Very good. Okay. So yeah, we're going to switch over, and we've actually got some mild learning aids, which is always fun. But yeah, so obviously, if you're looking to debug a package, you kind of start at very basic levels. You're probably looking at something where you're just going to end up with a right host, and maybe it's as simple as what is toolsdir. Generally, that's fairly set. But if you then ran that package, you'd find, if I can remember what I called that package, example 1 debug. And can I just check that you guys can see this as well?
Yeah, we can see that on the screen.
Perfect. Sorry.
I'll keep an eye on the chat. If there's any questions, I'll maybe jump in with those.
Sure. I've also got. I've just noticed I have got a good slot at the bottom there that I could pop you in.
If you want.
Yep. While this is running, I'll just quickly do that.
Cool. Oh, and that was the Hong Kong.
Sorry. Turn the phone off.
You moved there, my friend. Rookie.
There we go. So we can see that I've absolutely pinched this lovely package from one of the other packages that I have, and that should be just running through there. And it's installing dist-to-vhd as it happens. But this is just an example, and we should be able to see that our expected message was tool is in folder, and we have that there. So as a very basic debugging tool, that is one.
So this is how you do debugging now, right?
Yeah, I mean that makes sense, right? You can output things, it gets logged, users can see it. That's a mixed blessing there, but it's always going to happen. So good or bad thing there. I'd almost argue bad, because you don't always want users to see that sort of thing. And of course, you have to rebuild the package, repush it, and reinstall it every time you want that to happen. So what else could you do? You could go on to something more sophisticated, let's say, like exporting the current contents of env to a JSON file. That's surely not going to go terribly wrong, right? We can, so yeah, we can absolutely, if we're curious about what variables are available in the environment, we could do something like that, or we could do get variable choco something, and again export that in some fashion, and we'd be able to do that. But you'd have to end up looking at a file on disk, you'd have to repack the package, you'd have to do everything like that. So Emirates' talk had the brilliant point, and I almost felt like I should steal some of your slides and put them up here so that we could show them. You covered the idea that you should be able to trigger wait debugger within a package, which we just thought was brilliant. And you get into an interactive terminal at that point, you can do anything. And I wondered if you wouldn't mind giving us a quick rundown of why you ended up doing that as opposed to less sophisticated methods of debugging.
Yes, so I demoed how you can use Chocolatey to package more complex applications, not just your simple when MSI installed, but how to use Chocolatey to deploy a whole web application, which is a real life scenario I do every day at work. And just sometimes you run into issues on your customer servers. So, and right host, right verbose, or tried there, been there, done that. Just didn't get the information they needed. So I thought, how can I actively debug it on a customer server? So then in came remote debugging with just kicking off the wait debugger and then just pushing out onto the console your process ID and your run space ID. So you can enter the host process and then jump into the debugger. And that gives you an option with a ISE or console or VS Code, whatever you got on your target server, that you can just interactively debug it. So I just pass in a parameter called /debug. And if I capture that parameter, I just say, okay, wait debugger. And before that, I print the host process ID and the run space ID. And then you can just jump into that exact spot. And then we can just go line by line through our code and debug everything on any server at any time without having to repackage the whole Chocolatey package.
Yeah.
So that was the idea, and I'm happy that I inspired someone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've if you don't mind me saying, Manfred, I think we've both really enjoyed having this on hand. I think when it actually gets up to the CCR, which the Chocolatey Community Repository that is, which should be soon, I genuinely think people might get use out of it, which is not something I could say about every package I think about.
Definitely. I already did use the draft of the package of the debug package extension today at work.
Yeah,
So
I when I was searching for things to show off on the stream, I immediately came across a package I was trying to debug, and thought, hey, I can just use this. So yeah, I mean, sorry, just to loop back slightly because I became distracted there. But yeah, I also really loved the the parameter validation you had in your talk. So I would thoroughly recommend. We're going to stick a link in the YouTube video when we come back to when this is posted up on YouTube. But I would recommend going and watching that talk because it was fantastic.
Yeah, we'll put a link to everybody's talks actually.
Yeah.
And their Manfred, your talks as well on the chocolate stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, so we thought, hey, well, instead of having to meld debug code into each package, there are extension packages which essentially contain a PowerShell module that you can then use in any package that you run going forward. So we thought, hey, let's write this debug logic into an extension package so that we can debug any package without having to tinker with it, or without having to worry about rebuilding it, pushing it, etc. Which is really cool. So starting off then, what is a Chocolatey package? A Chocolatey extension package. Wow, that's a phrase that just rolls off my tongue, doesn't it? So looking at extension packages, which we shall do. They look pretty darn similar to a standard Chocolatey package. The main difference is instead of having a tools directory, an installer, etc., you have an extensions directory. So you can actually have a look at an example of a template package here, or I could actually just try and quickly do. Yeah, that'll do it. So I'm using ChocoNew to create a new package, and instead of using the standard ChocoNew template, I'm using a template that I've started making but haven't finished making called extension, which gives us a basic extension, hopefully called test extension. Sorry, I should have mentioned I was going to demonstrate this too. So yeah, there we go. So we can see that we have a fun new package with all the files that you need, which is essentially just a new spec. It needs to be called something.extension, so it's processed correctly, and then you've got an extension.psm1 file. So in here, you add any functions you want, and you can share them. So this is brilliant if you have, say, a selection of packages that do roughly the same thing, and you don't want to duplicate functions or features into every single package. You can just have them all depend upon a specific extension package, and then that will enable you to use those functions everywhere. We've used that for things like backwards compatibility within Chocolatey for functions that have been deprecated or otherwise removed. So you can now have a dependency on an extension package that resides on the CCR, and that will allow you to continue using older functions and features if you so choose to. it's actually installed basically the same as any other package. The main difference is, though you have the standard stuff in your lib folder, we're actually going to switch to looking at package debug here. So you've got all the standard things you would expect. There's also a file copied across to extensions within the Chocolatey install directory. Sorry, by the way, I seem to be talking a lot. If anyone wants to chime in, please do feel free to. Yeah.
Well, good so far.
Okay. If I have to get to the B joke, then we'll do that. But, you know. So,
no, you
debug
won't.
extension.
You won't. No.
Paul's got control over the stream. It's fine. He's here for that. So the package debug extension basically drops this module onto disk. And that module is as simple as it gets, really. It's slightly naughty in that it does actually run code when you import it. But that's not, against the rules or anything. It's just not really the done thing. So this is very simple in that, similar to the code shown in the talk on offline debugging, we have set PS breakpoint, but instead of having a specific, just a single trigger where you would look at the package parameters, we look at both whether there's an environment variable that's been set and also whether there has been a parameter passed in that matches debug. And that's simply because if you do stuff like parameter validation and debug is passed but you haven't accounted for that in the package, it might go sideways. So we've got that backup method. We then actually look at what's in the variable or what's been passed as the parameter, and we provide several different options to see how you might want to trigger this thing. And yeah, we've got various options that drop in at different points. There's obviously a mild issue that Manfred will probably bring up about versioning in this case, where obviously these are hard-coded line variables. So what we're doing here is we're actually dropping into the Chocolatey script runner at specific points. And if that script changes, there is the minor problem that the lines that you want to drop into are going to be problematic. So we've provided the ability to drop in a specific line by providing a line subparameter almost, debug line X. But if you are on a supported version or when we have updated this and then pushed it to CCR, you'll be able to drop in at pre-hook stage. So basically that's just before you evaluate whether you have any pre-hook scripts at the package stage. So just before you evaluate if you have any package scripts, e.g. before modify, Chocolatey install, or Chocolatey uninstall. And of course at the post-hook stage. So if you're trying to troubleshoot a specific hook or the package itself, or even if you really want to debug the extension, we have an option for that. Wouldn't recommend it, but it's there. But by default, it'll drop in at the very top of whichever the first package script is. Would anybody mind just taking over talking for a brief moment?
Okay.
Thank you.
Emrys, do you want to, or I have had a look at this package debug extension today and played around with it, and I really liked it so far. James's screen just froze for me. Is it my internet connection or?
No, I'm still there. It's my camera. I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You give me just one
right.
second.
So I'll just continue. Okay.
Please.
Right.
Sorry.
No, no worries. So the package debug extension really did work out great for me today. The one thing that James already mentioned is that I'm using a slightly older version of Chocolatey. So if you're not using the latest supported version, which would be 2.1, then actually this extension might not stop at the correct point, as in this version you see it right now. So we've added some code in that will actually, search for the correct line to stop and break there. And if it's not able to find it because there's too much changed in the latest release of Chocolatey, then it will fall back to proper default location. So worst case scenario, it will not stop in the Chocolatey install script, but somewhere in the script runner, and you would have to step in from there manually, but it will definitely trigger the breakpoint and will wait for you to continue. Also, there are options to make this even more usable, such as providing a parameter or setting an environmental variable that will fire up your preferred debugger, such as PowerShell ISE, which is most likely there on any machine, and will just step right into and give you the debugger loaded with the correct file and the breakpoint waiting there for you. So this is also something I've played around with today, and it don't know if we were going to add it in directly, but it's something that can be done without much effort. So it's totally doable also. Yeah, and the nice thing with this extension is that it really allows you to debug all of your packages, not just ones where you actually need to modify the source code of the package. You can take literally any package you've got in your repository or from the community repository and set an environmental variable or pass in the debug parameter. So what James, I think he mentioned it, but he did not show us yet, is that you do not need to pass the package parameter, which is you need to know how to pass package parameters because it's not the most straightforward way, but you can also just set an environmental variable, which is Choco debug package, I think, set it to true or any non-null, non-false value, and then it will, just break at the, very first line at the Chocolatey install package of that package if it exists. So it's really easy to use. And it should give you some nice instructions in the terminal, so everyone, even if you're not familiar to debugging, are able to get going and see what's going on in the scripts, evaluate all the environment, etc. Something's not right there.
Sorry. I've given up on my camera temporarily because the show must go on.
Right.
So, as Manfred was saying, you can basically use this at any point on any package, and it should just drop into wherever you've specified that you want to drop in. So yeah, you can do anything from starting out. We see that we've got this is PID 40480 in runspace 1. So what we could do there is we could simply use a terminal and run enter ps post process. So this is covering obviously some fairly well-trodden material here, in that it's been covered in some excellent talks. And then we can just go into runspace ID1, and we can see we're actually inside. It's less obvious to see, but we know that we are within the package. We should be at the top of that first step. So if we step forward, we can see we're on the tools directory. If I have the beeper script here, we can actually have a look at our Choco install, and we can see that this is running through the package as we'd expect. So we can step down and we're able to see what's going on. We're able to have a look at the values of things. So we can hopefully see toolsdir. No, sorry, one more step. And then we should be able to see toolsdir, which is off screen. There we go. But yeah, so we can see that wasn't there. We stepped through, and it's the standard debug environment here. Of course, we can then continue that. The package will continue to install. And we can run through that again. As Emrys said earlier, sometimes there are better experiences, and but you can't always guarantee that you've got some of the best experiences on the boxes that you have to run stuff on. So if you have a customer environment that you need to dial into, or if you need to remote somewhere, you can actually use ISE. So if we do exactly the same thing again, I'm actually going to just trigger this a slightly different way. So we're going to say that's not there anymore, and then we are going to do package parameters debug, and we can drop in. Let's drop in at the same place for now. So obviously, this doesn't mess with any of your other parameters. It's just an additional thing that you can trigger. There are potentially some security concerns there, but in general, if you are on a system that is locked down enough that you can't install random packages and you're worried about people being able to mess with your packages as they're being installed, we suggest not allowing people to install the debug package. That's, So we can see that. So same thing. We're actually just going to jump in and run into PS host process with a process ID of 314, and here we've got some nice tab completion. That actually would have worked the same way in the terminal, but we can drop into the run space properly. And this has the massive advantage of not having to reach over to VS Code to have a look at your script, because you're here, and you can take advantage of any of the normal debug commands with all the standard stuff that you can get. So you can step over stuff and then drop in to package args And we can see that, that's all there. And of course, if you've got something like ISE steroids installed, you'll get all of the advantages there. And you can actually see, you're in this, you're being run through the Chocolatey script runner here. So yeah, and that will work as well dialing in remotely as anything else. Finally, if you wanted to level up even further, I said earlier that Manfred's talk on debugging in VS Code revealed a lot of fun and interesting stuff to me. This is one of those things. If we say that we want to, let's say we want to go for pre-hook here, because that is fine. Then again, this should just go in and drop us at exactly the right place that we expect, assuming the version is correct. And then you can use, assuming you have the PowerShell extension installed on VS Code, you can basically just use it to debug. So what we've done here is we've got a launch property, which you can create essentially either by using add configuration and creating a PowerShell attached to host process. So that's fairly easy. You can also do it through the command palette. So there we go. And you can specify the run space ID as 1 because it's fairly reliably 1, I've found. I don't know if you guys have found differently, but that's generally been it. And you can also specify, if you wanted to, the process ID here. But I would recommend not doing so for reasons I'm about to show. So we can just remove that one. And then if we launch into the debugger, so we are just waiting on this one, so you can see it's process ID 38808 in run space 1. You can launch the debugger and it will show you processes running under Chocolatey. So you can immediately select that. You can be fairly confident that's going to be the one that has your process waiting for you. And it'll drop you in, it'll show you all of this, and then you've got everything in VS Code that allows you to do an excellent job of debugging anyway. So we've got the call stack here. You can actually step back up into the, if you were in the install script, you could step back up into the Chocolatey script runner. You can have a look at all the variables that are here. You've got a console that is working and nice. So, if we just want to have a look at env, we can see all of these variables. We can play with those. We can step in. We're actually going to see that this shouldn't have any hook scripts. He says, hopefully. Should have stepped in. And then we should eventually get to the package scripts, at which point we can step into that and we can go into debugging that as we would. So we can see that package scripts is going to go for Chocolatey install because I don't have any other scripts in there, but if there were, they would be there. And then we have the full environment ready to debug our install, which is brilliant. And as has been said, well, I've been really enjoying it. In fact, this specific package is currently having some fun. Oh, sorry, not this one. The beeper package that I was showing off a second ago is currently having some fun that I was using this to debug earlier. So
one thing I really want to emphasize here is that with this extension, you are suddenly able to debug all of the Chocolatey packages that are available to you. So you do not have to put in some special code to enable debugging, like Emery did in his talk, which was great, and it gives the idea to do this extension. But with having this, you can just use the PowerShell debugger to debug all of your Chocolatey packages, which is great.
Yeah. Which, yeah, it's just so powerful. And yeah, and it's so that there is this mild issue. Well, this is not a particular issue in my opinion, but you should be aware that if you are running this, you will get an odd-looking message at the end. It is quite, it's spelt out in the error message, but it is literally just that the session has ended without terminating in a better way. And we had a quick play to find better ways to do that, but I don't think we managed to figure it out.
Just pointing out, you get this error message in the debugging process. So in VS Code, ISE, or in the second terminal you start to debug, you do not see this error code when in the package install output. So if you were to look through your Chocolatey package logs, everything would be fine. You would just see the message that says, okay, now you can attach debugger with this process ID in the run space.
Yeah.
Also, one thing I want to point out here quickly is that you can do a lot of things with Chocolatey extensions, but when you're going to play around with Chocolatey extensions, be aware that these extension modules are loaded for each and every Chocolatey command you're doing that somehow interacts with packages, and you can really break stuff there. So if your module decides to like misbehave, take huge amounts of time, then it will slow down all of your operations. If you do set or change some environmental variables which are used within the packages, then it will probably also break your package installs. So just be careful about what you put in those extension packages, especially if you put in like code that's always run and you're not creating like helper functions that can be called within your Chocolatey packages, which is like the prime use case for those extension packages, to build like a library of functions you can then, or helper functions you can then use within your packages. So this package extensions kind of exploits how the extension mechanism works, because we actually, or you actually put in some code directly in a PSM1 file, which then gets invoked each and every time this extension gets loaded within the Chocolatey process.
Yeah, which is a mild concern perhaps, but is certainly something to keep an eye on if you're just creating random extensions, because obviously they all get loaded in all the time, and they can do anything. Yeah. But that's the same. You know, if anybody can start modifying arbitrary scripts in protected locations on your machine,
of course.
That's
It's just something to keep in mind, in my opinion, and it's like a really powerful concept, and therefore, because it works this way, we can do things like this debug extension. Or if you're familiar to box data wouldn't work without this exact feature.
Yeah, that's fair.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Is this a quote by you, Paul?
I would love to take credit for this, Manfred, but I'm sure somebody way older than me, or way before my time, said that first. So, but we can credit me if you really want. I'm not got an issue with that. Something I actually wanted to ask was, I want to ask Emerus, what do you think about? You know, you come up with the idea that Manfred and James kind of ran away with, like giggly children, as we said. But how do you feel about this, you know, evolving into this?
I think it's great, because, I mean, that's the whole reason I was at the PowerShell conf. That's why I held a talk, is to give people ideas, share my knowledge. And I never would have come up with creating an extension. Never, ever. So I'm really happy that they took the idea, put it in extension, and providing even more benefit. I think that's great. And it makes me a little bit proud.
And your cat as well was very proud. Yeah. As they've tried several times. But I was going to say as well, it's a community extension, so you know you can still be involved as part of that as well. Even though Manfred and James kind of started it off, you know, and again, anybody that's watching, you know, it's a community extension, so it can be kind of maintained that way as well. We can all get involved. For me, what I was going to say was, you kind of asked at the beginning, James, you know, would people find it useful? While I'm a manager, I'm still technical. I was technical, you know, I joined Chocolatey as an engineer originally, so I've got a lot of packages that I maintain. Yeah. And this would be really useful for me, for quite a few of the packages. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, for quite a few of the packages that I've got at the moment that I've got problems. Yeah. So this is going to be great for me. So I'm going to dive in and play around with it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, honestly, it's been fantastic ever since ever since it came in. I hadn't considered connecting to Chocolatey packages with Debugger. So Emerus's talk was phenomenal for that. Sorry, actually, I think we chatted a little about it the year before, perhaps, but not specifically that. And then Manfred's talk on the debugger in VS Code, it linked up like there's a chocolatey and peanut butter thing. If we had a peanut butter equivalent, maybe Ansible.
Yes.
To be honest, I have been debugging Chocolatey packages before a lot when I've been dealing with Boxstarter, when I've been like doing the uplift from Boxstarter 2 to Boxstarter version 3. I had to debug the Boxstarter packages all of the time because I just couldn't get it to work the way I wanted it. So I did put in a bunch of write hosts there, and I eventually came to the point where I put wait debugger in those scripts, but then I had to attach. And at some point I realized, okay, there was a smarter way. So I could do like only wait debugger if an environmental variable was set. So I was able to actually step in and debug Boxstarter, but I never really thought about doing the thing that Emrys did, like adding a package parameter to enable the package to be debugged. It's the package itself to be debugged, which was great. And yeah, as Paul mentioned, the gigglish children we were at Emrys's talk, and then we kind of, because we know what you can do with Chocolatey and what extension packages are, we kind of got the idea how, hey, this is great. This should be possible for all of the packages. So can it be done with an extension? And yeah, can.
Sorry about the camera issue, by the way.
I was going to say, James, I think in case anybody has just kind of joined the stream and is wondering where this mysterious ghostly voice is coming from, James's camera unfortunately isn't working. Although it did work, and then technology got the better of everything, and it's no longer working. So his voice is there, but his camera's not here. He would be in the top left of the picture.
I could probably do something about this, but it's probably a bad idea to pick a photo to put in here, so I shan't.
Yes, just
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
So I think that's most of the demo. I could absolutely demo me stepping through this beeper package and going into that in further depth, but I think we've shown off the main part of that. Did anybody see the... Oh, sorry.
I was going to say we've got a couple of other things to go through.
Yeah.
But you were going to mention something there?
I was. I mean, we can go through things first, actually, now I think about it. But yeah, no, I mean, I was going to say, just on the off chance, did you all see the Linus Tech Tips video last night? I know Paul.
Yes.
And
yeah.
mentioned it.
I was looking for my mute.
Yeah. Oh, very nice. A very nice review. Glowing, I would say. Which is always a plus.
Yeah, and it was a good review. And some of the going through the rest of the video as well, some of the software that he talked about, the Chocolatey package WizTree, which I never heard of. It's a kind of Windows Start replacement. I use Windows Start all the time. And that's a kind of replacement for that. So it's just another Chocolatey package to install. But that was really interesting for me to see.
Yeah, no, that was I am a big fan of WizTree as well. Oh, there we go. Apparently I've left it through the timeout. Okay, touch desk. That looks like I'm alive.
Hey, you're back.
Hello again.
Hooray! Hey, sorry about
Hey
that.
there.
Yeah, my camera occasionally does that, and I need to sort out why. But yeah, so let's just pop back over to what is hopefully the desktop view. Because yes, unless I get into talking about swishy Arduino things or keyboards, we're on to the rest of PSConf stuff, which was, I don't know if you saw the photo earlier where I look so grumpy. I'm only grumpy because, it's fine. We said we were going to give some Lego away, which is super cool, and I don't think we told everyone on the team that, so we probably shouldn't say it too loudly. So we've obviously got a PowerShell script for that, so it's as fair as I can make it, because it uses get random.
Just to kind of set the scene as well, that everybody that came up to the booth, and we got their details. We were going to put them into a draw for Lego. We kind of put a picture up. What was it? The picture was it Optimus Prime?
It was Optimus Prime, because that's a really cool Lego set.
It is. But we were, there was some options round about there. But so the thing here is to choose the winner of that Lego set and then arrange that for them.
Yeah.
And James is going to do that.
Yes. And if it comes up as JR, I promise I didn't fiddle with it, but I probably did test scan myself. No, not anyone in the call, which is great, because that would look really awkward. So if your initials are AB, and I'll go and verify that, and then send an email off to you, and...
EB, did you say there?
AB,
Me?
I'm afraid, not PB.
Oh,
That would have been,
no,
yeah, no.
PB, can
No,
we?
sorry, Paul.
Okay.
That's
Actually my middle name, is A. So I'm trying.
PAB.
I did do a test
PAB.
roll earlier that came up with Manfred. I thought that would be interesting. But just on the same subject, actually, on PSConf EU, they're actually doing a mini-conf in October, the 24th. So that should be cool. It's going to be on Gather, which is an interesting application where you can all go and hang about on webcams. There's going to be some talks from people who couldn't make it. And yeah, it should be a really good time. It was really good last year. So I would recommend attending that. I don't know if you guys will be there. I probably will.
I'll definitely be there.
Cool.
I was there briefly last year. Not that that helps anything, and that was kind of pointless, but I just wanted to feel included. So I just wanted to say something.
Yeah, it's only mildly
I've been
terrifying.
standing at a Chocolatey booth at Minicon last year all of the time, and I never met Bobby.
I was only
Stevie
there
came
briefly.
around at some point.
I was only there briefly, unfortunately.
There was a good showing of Folk and Gather on the in the intro, the keynote to PSConf EU this year, which was nice. Recognized a lot of names. But I think that's it. From what I've got, my only last note is tell a lengthy joke about a bee until Paul cuts me off.
No.
Though we are coming in under time, so.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask what people felt about PowerShell Conference Europe this year. I've been to PowerShell Summit in the US. I don't want to kind of do a rivalry between the two. But I've been to PowerShell Summit in the US once. I've only been there once. And I've been to PowerShell Conference Europe a number of times. I think every year since 26. I want to say that, and I'm going to be wrong. I'm sure it's been like every year since 2016 or something. It's maybe a fifth or sixth time. I really enjoy the event. I don't think they're comparable at Summit and PowerShell Conference. I think they're very different events. So I feel comfortable saying I quite enjoy one, and then people not thinking I didn't enjoy the other. They're very different. But I wanted to know what everybody else thought about the event in general. I thought this year was the best year so far. I really enjoyed the interaction with people. It was a really friendly event. It was fun. It was really welcoming, and it was warming, and I actually felt really good being there. It felt really comfortable. I did a couple of talks, like Emrys and Manfred. When you talk at PowerShell Conference, you give 2 talks. So we all gave 2 talks. There was also a mental health talk at the end, which is not recorded, where I was invited to give that as well, along with Rob Sewell and a couple of others, which is great. We did that for the first time last year, and I thought that was a really great idea, and we did it again this year. It was phenomenal. So I really, really enjoy it. It's one of the best events I've ever been to. So I wanted to kind of get everybody else's thoughts about the event in general. And I know, Emrys, that was your first time there. It was first time speaking. Have you been before?
Yeah, so I've started off 2018. I've been there every year since. For me, it's the most important conference I go to because it's so welcoming. Talking to people, you get inspired. There's so many great talks giving you great ideas. So you come back home, you're happy that you were there. You are happy that you saw your friends you haven't seen for a year, and you come back with loads of ideas and what you can use and implement into your day-to-day job. So I love it.
Yeah, I know I've still got several items on my phone that I mean to talk to Gary or Paul about. Not to worry you, Paul.
Yeah, I thought that would happen. But yeah, and I was going to say, and you come back and you create a debug extension for Chocolatey as well. Through those great ideas. Manfred, what did you think? I know you've been there a few times as well. Like Emrys, I don't know when you started, but I know you've been there quite a number of years. What did you think of this year's event?
It's been great. I really enjoyed it. My first time PSConf was 2019 at Hanover. And I really like to get together with all of the PowerShell folks and have a lot of chats, get a bunch of good coffee and stroop waffles. And yeah, there's no other place where I can actually meet up with Bruce Payette and do some nerd talk about programming and languages and what the bits and pieces I do not like about PowerShell and the bits and pieces I find great about PowerShell. So yeah, that's a really special event.
Awesome. James, what did you think? I know we've been there a couple of years. We were there together last year as well when it was in Vienna. And Chocolatey sponsored there as well. Have you been before then?
No, oh, blimey, it's frozen again. Yes, no, I've been 1 year before that. Sorry, I've been last year and this year. But yeah, it's fantastic. It is, as you say, so friendly. They do so much work around making sure there are events to go to in the evenings, and so many talks, so many tracks. It's fantastic. And yeah, I come back fizzing with ideas.
Yeah. Just to be clear, James's camera is frozen again in case you
I'm not just
think he's just in deep in thought.
I'm actually a ventriloquist.
There, but I was one of the things I mentioned, just had a little. I don't know if you guys will get any stories, but I was given one of my talks, and it was at the same time as Bruce and Jeffrey Hicks was giving their talk. So I was expecting to turn up to an empty room, pretty much. Being fair, they're giants in PowerShell. Why would people come and see me when they're there? But the room was actually quite full, so I was very surprised. So I could only imagine theirs was packed out, and everybody decided that they would have to go to someone else's talk. But that was a big surprise for me. And it again, it kind of reinforced that while people are really kind of big names in PowerShell, I think people come along to learn rather than just see kind of, I was going to say, PowerShell celebrities. So that for me was a bit of an eye opener, that people wanted to come along and listen to me and learn about the thing I was talking about rather than seeing the kind of celebrities. That was good. But has anybody else got any little stories that they want to share before? Because if we don't share them, unfortunately, James is going to have to tell the bee joke about the bumblebee. And
I learned a new joke at PSConf about tryptophan.
Yes, that's
a good one, but I can do it. James would have to, but
it's almost as bad as the bumblebee jokes. So yeah,
I didn't spend all
no,
my
actually,
jokes, I swear.
I really did enjoy PSConf. Apart from my 2 regular talks, I also did the one together with James where we tried to demo the debug extension I did the night before, which really did work when I when I first drafted it, but there were some technical issues anyway.
I think I know.
And then, sorry,
I think I know what went wrong. Sadly, we don't have a video to prove it, but I'm reasonably sure I typed package params, which I don't think is a valid way to call package parameters. Yeah.
Anyway, I did a second lightning talk where I used box data, which I did a talk on, and I'm kind of one of the maintainers of it. And where I used box data to install Chocolatey, then use Chocolatey to install Winget, and then use Winget to install some browser that is usable on a bare Windows installation. And it was great fun because the day before I had some chats with people there. Yeah, what's Winget compared to Chocolatey? What's Chocolatey compared to Winget? What the heck is even is box data? And I really did enjoy to just put it all together and show, well, take whatever you like, it all works. And Paul was kind enough to lend me a bunch of Asia credits, or to give me a bunch of his Asia credits, and it just went crazy and spinning up hosts and trying out new demos, seeing if box data works in each and every situation. And yeah, it was just great fun. And I spent way too much time on my computer trying to improve my presentations rather than I should probably have been talking to other people. We'll do this better next year if I come back, probably, hopefully.
Maybe.
But yeah, great fun. You can tell. Still very excited.
Awesome. Just on that, Manfred, you just reminded me there that, and it's relevant to the audience, is that I did a talk on Winget versus Chocolatey. So that's something we've been asked. I don't think we've not been asked it as much as people might think, to be fair, but we have been asked about it, what we think about the differences between the two. So I did a talk on that, and that will be in the links in the YouTube video if you're watching this on YouTube later on after this. We'll add the links in there as well. But that went down really well. I was really, really pleased with how well people received that, because it's a bit of a nerve-wracking talk in the sense that you're comparing kind of two camps a little bit, and trying to come out with some sort of reasonable outcome for both parties. So that was good. So as I said, the link will be there, and when you're watching this on YouTube later on. Anybody else get any other little thoughts they had about PowerShell Conference Europe before we kind of start to look at wrapping up? It's either that or it's a Bumblebee joke. So
I just would like to say, if you got the opportunity to go, because it's a great experience. You'll get to learn, get to know brilliant, lovely people, and get more knowledge, new ideas, and inspiration. So just go if you got the option.
How was speaking for the first time, Emrys, as well? How did all of that go with, behind the scenes? Was there mentors and things like that for you?
So basically, it was nerve-wracking. Of course, it is if you're speaking for the first time. No, I had tons of support from the PowerShell organizers. If I had a question, I could ask the question. They would always come back to me. They would answer. They got a mentorship program running. So if you're thinking of speaking, you can apply for this mentorship program, and then it will talk you through the process of creating abstract, preparing your talks, and they'll be supportive all the way. So
awesome.
So if you're thinking of speaking, apply for the mentorship program. You'll get the information you'll need, and they'll help you.
Yeah. Awesome. What I've totally forgotten what I was going to say. Yeah, are you going to put in talks next year? Do you think you'll come back and do talking rather than just visiting?
I definitely want to talk, do more talks, but I need a good idea first.
Okay.
So I've got a few ideas. I'm not sure if they are ready for a 3/4 of an hour talk yet.
That's fair.
Awesome. Okay. Does anybody get anything else before we wrap up? We're about 6 minutes before time, so we'll be finishing roughly around when we should do. Any thoughts, Emrys, before we?
No, just I'm excited about the extension. I can throw out my legacy code with my debugging and use extension, and that's great.
Cool. Manfred?
No, not really. It's been great fun. Thanks for having me on here. Maybe a little spoiler from my side for box data. There will be a pull request soon that will upgrade the internal version of Chocolatey that's used within box data to a usable current version, which would be 2.1 most likely. Yeah, so look out for that. And yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for all the good time at PSConf, and also looking forward to this extension being available to the public.
Cool.
Absolutely.
James, any last thoughts?
No, thank you all for listening, and yeah, I really like this extension. Thank you both for the inspiration and the implementation and the fun and the talking about it and all that. Yeah, it's been really cool.
Awesome. Okay, so thanks, Emrys, for coming along and joining us today and inspiring both Manfred and James to put together the debug extension. It was awesome to meet you as well at PowerShell Conference this year. Manfred, we meet quite a lot at the conference and chat in between there, but thank you very much for coming on today and for being James's partner in crime in this extension as well, and for all your help as well at PowerShell Conference Europe. We really do appreciate it.
James really did come up with all of this with what we demoed today, so I just did not have the time the last couple of weeks. So thank you, James, for actually getting the idea into a usable state we can put out there.
Oh, it's very much good fun, and I mean that in the nicest of ways, as opposed to the way I normally curse the word fun. So yeah.
James's middle name is Fun. so he enjoys it. James, any last thoughts before we wrap up?
Oh gosh, no. I hope. I know this has been a little unusual in format. I hope the format was okay. I look forward to finding out. Have great days, everybody.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much to all of you. So just to kind of close down, so again, thanks Emrys for coming on, Manfred, James, really appreciated everything that you guys have done for the chocolate community and also the PowerShell community. And at PowerShell Conference EU this year, it was awesome to kind of get together and spend some time together. I really enjoyed it. But thank you to the audience, thank you to all of you today as well for spending time with us. We really appreciate it. Please follow us on Twitch and subscribe with a bell on YouTube, and you'll get notifications when we stream. And give the video a like on YouTube so we can spread that chocolatey word out there to everybody. Our next live stream is on the 3rd of August, where we'll be looking at the 2.2.0 release of chocolatey products. And that'll be released soon. A chat message caught my eye there and totally threw me off. So yeah, that's going to be released soon, and we'll be talking about that on the 3rd of August. So I hope you can all join us then. So take care, everybody. Thank you to everybody again. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you on the 3rd of August. Take care. Bye bye.
See ya. Bye.